Hello and welcome to another Coffee Talk Sunday where myself and a guest, we're going to chat all walks of life, and most importantly, we're going to talk about how mindset plays the biggest role in achieving what you want. I am really excited today to have a host who I've actually known for a while, a guest, sorry, I'm the host, I'm Hannah. My guest today is Annika McCann, and I'm excited to chat with her because her products have helped me exponentially in my life when it has come to my anxiety and my sleep. So we're going to dive into business, her mindset when it came to business, how she became not only a business owner, but basically how she got into CBD. Then we're going to talk about CBD products, how they may benefit you, and then how, if you're interested, you can kind of take a look at the products and get to know Annika a little bit more and ask her all the questions. So let's dive into it really quick. I'm going to invite her here to join us. Yay! All right, let me adjust myself here really quick. Hi guys, thanks for hopping on. Hi Annika.
Hey Hannah, hey everybody else. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely. So like I was saying when I hopped on, your products have helped me more than journaling or meditation or medication or doctors, and all of those things are well and good. But what I really loved is how simple it is to kind of learn a little bit about CBD and apply it to your life without having to like jump through the hoops of doctors and therapists and like going through the process. I feel like for myself and many other people, this was kind of an easy solution and almost a no-brainer, because especially now trying to get like doctor's appointments and speak with people, like it can be a lot. So let's kind of start with you. Who are you? What do you do? And just what do you love about life right now?
Okay, well, I'm Annika. I've been an herbalist for 30 years now, which is kind of amazing. That's a long time. I don't feel that old, really. I've also been a nurse for like 18 or so years. And I got into CBD several years ago when my daughter was really struggling with mental health issues. I learned about cannabis as a medicinal plant back in herb school, but I didn't pay much attention to it because it was A, super expensive, B, illegal, and there's so many other great herbs to use. And the CBD really wasn't a thing back then at all. And nobody had even really heard of it in the herbalist world. And it certainly wasn't available to consumers. So my daughter was really in a tough place. She had been in a mental hospital for 16 days. She had to withdraw from school. It was a really bad scene. So I was trying to think of everything I could to try to help her. And I read about CBD for anxiety and mental stuff. And I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot, and got some. And I was just amazed at the impact it had on her. Within 3 days after she started taking it, it was like a switch got flipped in her. She was so much calmer and more in control of her emotions and steady. And it was just, I was blown away. I was like, wow, I've got to learn a lot more about this plant. And I did. At the time, it was before the 2018 Farm Bill had passed, so it was still illegal to grow. In 2018, the U.S. Farm Bill was passed, which made hemp legal to grow and as an agricultural commodity rather than as a Schedule I substance like it was before. So at that point, I was, I got some a little bit before that to experiment with, but as I was paying a lot for the products we were using, and I was like, I'm an herbalist, I could be able to figure this out. And so I experimented, and I came up with my own method of extracting the CBD from the hemp, and it worked just as well as the super expensive lab extracted varieties we were using. So that was awesome. And I convinced my husband to use it because he's got bone spurs in his neck from a motorcycle accident, and it flares up really bad sometimes, like bad to the point where he has to be on narcotics. And I convinced him to try it, and he was really skeptical. He was like, well, whatever, I'll give it a try. And after a week or two, he was like, yeah, I think it's feeling a little better. And then a little while later, we went away for the weekend, and he forgot it. And by the end of the weekend, he was like, oh my God, this is the way my neck used to feel all the time.
Oh.
now he's a convert and he uses it every day for sure. So that's how I got into it. And I honestly, I did not expect to start a business, but it made such a huge difference for my family, and it was, easy to make. And I just really was compelled to do it. And here I am. It's been 3 years, I guess, since I started the business.
That's amazing. So I know for my own experience, very similar. I had a very traumatic summer working with someone who basically became a tyrant in my life. And it was so many things were like bubbling up. I was having nightmares. I would have like chest pains just walking into work. And it's like, how do you deal with that? Do you go to therapy? And I did. And then I broke my knee, which you know all about. And I remember working at a local coffee shop, and with a lot of gusto, a UPS driver came in, and he was just like, do you have this? Do you have this? I was told this is where it was. And so I looked at it, and it was a big tin of CBD salve from another local person. And I said, oh yeah, here it is. And he's like, listen, this, and I was having a lot of knee pains from my surgeries. And he's like, listen, I can't take drugs. And if you looked at his hands, all of his joints were very swollen. And he was just kind of telling me about like his hand pains, and he also had carpal tunnel and just a bunch of other things. And he's just like, when I'm driving like this all day long, every single day, like I get in so much pain, and I can't take narcotics and some drugs because UPS tests for that stuff. So anything strong enough is considered a drug, and it's illegal for me to take as a UPS driver. And he's like, but this stuff, he's like, it's topical, and I rub it on and my hands feel good all day long. And I was like, And I had seen the CBD, like Bob, your husband, I had seen people buying it and using it, but I was just like, can an oil really work? Can a salve really work? So one of the other barista was like, no, that stuff works. He's like, we have a sample. Why don't you try some? So I tried some, and maybe within like 15 or 20 minutes, the area that I had rubbed it on, where there was still like a lot of swelling and water buildup from the surgery, it just didn't hurt. Like it was very, very hard. It was very hard to explain. It just didn't hurt anymore. And the combination of like my summer and then my knee surgery a couple years after that, like there was just a lot of looming physical and emotional pain, right? And then I had a friend who worked with me one summer who had catastrophic thinking and high anxiety and high depression. And I said, I've heard a lot about CBD. And we went to the farmer's market that day, and you were there. And I convinced him, I was like, try it. It's so funny because I convinced him to use it for himself before I hopped on board. And I asked myself, if it works on someone like him, it'll work for me. And it was amazing how he went from like so high strung to just kind of going through his day. And he's like, normally something like this would really bother me, but I'm just going to think about it. And maybe not think about it. And just his approach, like his mental approach to normally being high strung, just got brought down. So I was like, okay. So I revisited the farmer's market. I got some CBD, and the mental and physical pain for me just became kind of muted. And I say that because when I had been on medications for pain or depression or anxiety before, I kind of felt like a zombie. Like I would be here in the present, but I would kind of feel like I was way back there trying to like catch up to myself. And CBD did not make me feel that way. It made me feel muted without like the elongated medical side of things. Yeah. So I have to say, like, I was on the same level as Bob. I was like, but then I saw it working in other people, and I'm like, okay, got to give this a try. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to have you on here today, was because of your personal experience with CBD. And then, like you said, I didn't think I would turn this into a business. Like, it's amazing what you can do when you have that mindset change of, if I can truly help somebody with this and provide a less expensive but high quality product, why not me? You know, why can't I do that for people? So we know what sparked your interest when it came to CBD. How did you get started? Like, as a small local business owner, what were kind of the steps that you took to get the ball rolling?
Well, with hemp and CBD, it's pretty regulated. So I had to go and get, well, first of all, my business license from the state, like any small business, but also I had to get a hemp processor's license. Hemp's regulated by the Department of Agriculture in Vermont, so you have to get a license to do anything with hemp, to grow it or process it. So I got that, and then, you know, I did a whole bunch of design brainstorming with my husband and my daughter, and they helped me come up with a label design. And my husband has a bunch of graphic design experience, so he, you know, got it up and designed and just figured out. I started with a pretty small set of products, just CBD rubs and CBD oils, and now I have a bunch more products, but just started out really small. And I didn't quit my day job. I was still working almost full time as a nurse. And
I love that.
at that time, it was hard to sell online. Credit card processing is very, very restricted for hemp products. You can't process with regular credit cards much at all. So, and you can't use PayPal, you can't use Stripe, all these payment processing, because it's still, even though it's legal, it's still like a federally not quite legal. So the banks are super leery of getting involved. So at the time, what was I doing? I can't even remember how I was taking payment online, because I threw up a little website. I think people had to contact me and, you know, send me a check. I can't even really remember. But, and then eventually later that year, later in 2019, I was able to get a Square account. Square, the payment processor, has a CBD specific account. They have to, like, it's a big application and they don't accept everybody. But once I got that, then I could have a real website with a, like, regular online shopping type store.
And you said you've been doing this for 3 or 4 years now?
I started in early 2019.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is my 3 years. Yeah.
Okay. And would you say it's going well? Have you?
It's going great. Yeah. I got so busy by the end of 2019. I mean, I was still working almost full time as a nurse, and the business was taking up a lot of time. I would work all day at the hospital, then I would come home and work all evening on the business. I would work all weekend on the business. It was nuts. I was working, you know, easily 70, 80 hours a week. And I was like, boy, something's got to give here. This is not a sustainable lifestyle. So I was like, okay, either I leave my job or I shut down the business. And luckily, as a nurse, your work can be so flexible. So I went per diem at the hospital. And so that since then I've worked, you know, depending on the season, like summer I'm busy, so I only work a couple times a month, and winter I'll work once or twice a week at the hospital.
That is so impressive. Like, women like yourself, small business entrepreneurs, like, that just feeds my soul. Like, you just said that you were working up to 80 hours a week, coming home and still working because CBD in the business, you were passionate about it. So, like, this morning I was making breakfast and I had Netflix going. Like, that's when I watch Netflix, when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm making my breakfast, when I'm doing the laundry. Like, I don't sit down anymore. I used to, we all used to sit down and just aimlessly watch Netflix. Like, there are things that I will sacrifice my time for, and it's not Netflix or entertainment or going out every single weekend. It's finding what fuels my fire and can also help other people, and also, because this is something everybody is curious about, also make an income. Like, now it's not one income, it's two, and that can really be beneficial for someone's life. So my next question for you is kind of, with your business, now that it's thriving, you've kind of found this happy balance between your day job and now your own business. Do you plan on expanding at all? And if so, what would that kind of look like?
I would like to expand a little bit. I don't want to grow too much because, I mean, big growth can be very disruptive. So at this point, I'm kind of maxed out with what I can manage myself. I do have an employee that works for me very part-time, just half a day a week. Mm-hmm. I could manage without her, but it would be a stretch. But if I grew too much more, I mean, it would be nice to grow a little bit more and actually bring on a real employee, because she's under the table. But but that would be cool. But I don't want to go big and have to like struggle with managing multiple employees, and that just doesn't really appeal to me. I'd much rather just keep it really little.
Sure.
I'm in about a dozen stores. I sell at the two farmers markets. Well, it was 3 last year. It'll be back down to 2 this year. And then I sell a lot online. It'd be nice if I could get another couple stores.
Sure.
But I wouldn't want to grow a ton bigger than that.
Can you, for our audience, if you can off the top of your head, for anyone that is local and in stores, what stores are your products in if they prefer to like go and look in person rather than online?
Okay, well, we're in northern Vermont right now, for those of you who might not know. And here in Vermont, in St. Johnsbury, where I live, I'm at Natural Provisions, which is a health food store, and Cosmic Cup Cafe and Lumiere. And then in Lindenville, just north of here, I'm in Agway and the Village Sports Shop Trailside. And then in Littleton, New Hampshire, I'm in the Littleton Co-op, which is a big co-op. Mm-hmm. And Interiors Green, and I think that's it in Littleton. Yeah. So those are all the real local ones.
Okay, awesome.
Not missing anybody.
So let's talk about the real meat of this call, which is CBD and educating people on what it is and the benefits that it can provide for them. So let's start with super basic. What is CBD? Because a lot of people think marijuana and it's, getting high, and it's not the same thing. So can you explain kind of the differences?
Sure. So hemp and marijuana are actually the same plant. It's all cannabis. And I have a little thing here. So yeah, it's all the same species, cannabis. And hemp, by definition, has to have less than 0.3% THC. And marijuana has more than 0.3 THC. There's a lot of misconceptions like, oh, hemp is the male plants and marijuana is the female plants. No, and there's a lot of misconceptions like that, but it's all cannabis. And if you think about like peppers, you can grow a bell pepper that's totally mild, has no heat at all, or you can grow a ghost pepper, which is so spicy that hardly anyone can actually eat them. It's the same species. It's just breeding produces different effects and different amounts of different chemicals. And so it is with cannabis. Cannabis back ages ago, there were about equal amounts of THC and CBD in the plant. And those THC and CBD are both cannabinoids, which is a chemical compound in the plant. There's actually over 100 different cannabinoids that have been identified in cannabis so far. And those are the two biggies. So for the past several decades, cannabis has been bred to have more and more and more THC in it, so people can get more and more stoned off it. And in that inadvertently dropped down the CBD levels to close to zero, not zero, but very, very low. And then with the advent of hemp coming back, it's the opposite. People have been breeding for high CBD and low THC. And then there's balanced strains too. But in terms of hemp, what's legally available under the hemp programs is it has to be below 0.3 THC, 0.3% THC. So CBD is that one cannabinoid that's in the plant. There's also other things that are medicinal in there, terpenes and flavonoids and all kinds of other minor compounds. I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry. So yeah, the hemp, the CBD and the other cannabinoids interact with our endocannabinoid system. So a lot of people don't know about this. Actually, the endocannabinoid system was only discovered back in the 1980s, but it's within our whole body. We have receptors in almost every cell for cannabinoids. So our bodies make chemicals, endocannabinoids, which means inside cannabinoids, which are very, very similar structurally to CBD and THC and the other cannabinoids. And the cannabinoids, the endocannabinoid system kind of works in the background of our bodies to maintain homeostasis or balance in our bodies, and it interfaces with practically every other body system, the nervous system, the GI system, all the other systems practically.
Hmm.
And without it, we really couldn't function. It acts in the background to take care of just sort of maintaining everything in our body, keeping everything flowing smoothly.
Sure. So you had mentioned THC, and just for the people who just like, oh, I don't want to get high off of CBD, and it's not the same as smoking it. So some people more conservative people have the perception that any amounts of THC and CBD would be bad for them, or they might, just very bad perception of THC for some people. So what is your kind of like your advice, your knowledge of what traces of what traces of THC are in CBD? What is kind of a way that you can alleviate that misconception for people that, oh, if I'm taking in CBD, I'm taking in, THC and it's going to be bad for me?
Mm-hmm. Well, for one thing, THC is really not bad for you. It's a very, very potent medicinally. It has a lot of amazing medicinal quantities. And in fact, CBD works better when it has trace amounts of THC in it, for sure. If you take it's like all my CBD products do have trace amounts of THC in them. If you took a really large amount, like I do sometimes, I can start to feel a little, not high, but I kind of compare it to like the opposite of having too much caffeine. So if you have too much caffeine, you're going to get kind of wired and jittery. It's not like snorting a bunch of cocaine, but it'll make you feel a little jittery. If you have like what I consider too much CBD, it'll make me feel kind of like muted or like dull or something, and a little bit out of it, but not high. But that's if I take a lot. Like when I'm making it and like scraping out all my dishes, I just tend to eat all the extra, and sometimes that can be a lot. And that's probably, that feeling is probably due to the trace amounts of THC, because I'm kind of a lightweight, so it doesn't take much. But you can get CBD products that don't have any THC in them. They don't tend to work quite as well, because THC works wonderfully for all kinds of conditions. Mm-hmm. But you can get them that way. But in terms of it being bad for you, other than making you feel like it may be high, it's one of the safest substances around. I mean, if you use THC in high doses chronically, it can cause some problems, but taking all doses is really not a problem hardly for anybody. Yeah. And compared with alcohol, like alcohol kills hundreds of thousands of people every year. Mm-hmm. Cannabis kills 0.
Right. Yeah. I when you were saying, you kind of get the jitters from coffee. So I have ADD. So coffee is actually a downer for me, not an upper. However, you give me a bottle of Sprite with the amounts of sugar in it, and I'm like, woo, So I was thinking to myself when you were talking about how the CBD with traces of THC kind of like bring you down. I was thinking to myself, sugar for me is what coffee is for a lot of people. It's that huge upper, and the CBD with the THC is more of like, instead of a woo, it's more of like a woo. It's nice. So now that we have that out of the way, and this is coming from an herbalist over 30 years and a nurse, what are some of the best practices to buying high quality CBD without thinking that, oh, well, I'm just going to walk down to the corner Walgreens and, ask the pharmacist to get me this CBD out of the case and I'm good to go? Because I have heard so many people, and the UPS driver that came into the cafe that day, he was one of them. He's like, I had this stuff and then I didn't know where to get it because it was gift. And then I went to the local drugstore, bought some. It did absolutely nothing for me. So I asked them where they got it. And now I'm asking you, do you have it? Because I need it. So anytime I've heard people say, oh, well, can I just like get it at a drugstore? And I'm just like, no, please don't. One, you're feeding money into a massive like company that makes the stuff probably for nothing, and they're charging you an arm and a leg. And two, it's not going to be as high quality. So what are some of the best practices that if people are interested in buying CBD, how can they buy it locally? How can they make sure that it's high quality?
So that's a huge question because there are so many crappy products out there, and not just bad products in that they won't do anything, but fraudulent products and some products that are downright dangerous. And so you really have to know what you're buying when it comes to CBD. So a lot of places, like everyone loves to shop on Amazon, right? If you search for CBD on Amazon, you'll come up with a ton of products, pages and pages of products. However, it's very, very unlikely that any of those products actually contain CBD. They're fraudulent products. So they are hemp seed oil, which is cleverly packaged and marketed to make people think that it's CBD oil. It's made with hemp, but it's made with the hemp seeds, and hemp seeds contain pretty much zero cannabinoids. The cannabinoids and CBD and THC is in the bud or the flower of the plant. So the hemp seed oil, it's packaged just to look exactly like CBD oil, and a lot of people fall for this all the time. It's not in it. So that's one thing. Don't buy it on Amazon. It's illegal to buy it. It's to sell it on Etsy. It's, a lot of places you can't sell it. So don't buy it at the gas station. One of the first things you should ask is about when you're looking at a CBD product is, where is the hemp grown? You want to start with the hemp itself, because that's what it's made from. So where's the hemp grown? A lot of the CBD available in this country is made with really cheap hemp that's grown in China. And most people have heard about how contaminated Chinese agriculture is. With hemp, it's even more important to be very careful with the growing practices, because hemp is what's known as a bioaccumulator, which means it'll suck everything up out of the soil, all the nutrients, minerals, and everything in the soil. But if the soil has a lot of pesticides in it, it'll all get sucked up into the plant. If there's radiation, any kind of radioactivity in the soil, or heavy metals, those will all get sucked up into the plant, and it'll be in the hemp plant and then go straight into the medicine or anything that's made out of the plant. So where's the hemp grown? You want it to be grown in the United States. I think there's some European countries which are doing a good job, but basically I tell people to look for domestically grown hemp, because our agricultural system has its problems for sure, but there is some oversight. Ideally, like locally to you, that's great, but there's great hemp grown all over the country. You want to know, and if you can't figure out where it's grown, if it doesn't say on the package or it doesn't say on the website, then chances are it's from China and you don't want it.
And yours is grown here. You grow your own, right?
No, I don't grow my own.
I
live right in town, so I don't have land, but a young couple grows for me in Cabot, which is, for people who aren't here, that's about 20 miles up the road. Yeah.
But it's locally grown here in Vermont, which Vermont is one of the top states that has a wonderful agricultural community and system. So that's huge.